Okay, everybody, it's late in the afternoon. Gonna see what kind of games we can end up in today. Been a little busy at work, so not able to get a lot of games in. Which is fine. I don't need to get a lot of... Oh, we've got a Slav. We've got a Slav. Okay, hang on. I got notes for this. Slav. C4 followed by C6. And then main line is knight F3. Knight F3 is main line. Knight F3. Boom. Aha, okay, that's fine. That's fine. You can do that. Remember, you want to hold off on bishop to f5 because the queen can infiltrate. How can the queen infiltrate? The queen can infiltrate? I don't remember, but I think the queen can infiltrate this way somehow. Let's move our knight first, and let's see if we can eventually move our queen up here. So this pawn is under attack. The rook is also under attack indirectly. However, once you take the pawn, the knight just simply moves out of the way. Probably here. And then the queen defends the rook. So this is one of the things that can be a little dangerous with the Slav, is this bishop. Aha, good, excellent. My opponent has defended. So now let us... chase the bishop away. This is an awkward move, I understand. But I want to put my bishop along the f4, chase the queen. It's a little awkward having my king side all messed up like this, but I'll probably park my light square bishop underneath, kind of like a fianchetto structure. Okay. And probably my knight is coming up to e5. So let me see here. My opponent has several defenders on this particular square. So here, my opponent takes, I take back, they take. My opponent's playing this really, really solidly, guys. Really solidly. I need to be cautious. Let's just try this. I think I'm dropping a pawn here. So my bishop is going to do a good job, I think, in the interim. Because if the queen comes down, I think I have time to pick up here and threaten on this side of the board. I think I have time. Now, there is a pawn situation here. I can't castle queenside because my opponent's queen is in the way. But right now I'm threatening here. My opponent could simply move the rook under because it is defended. I'm down a pawn, but I could pick a pawn back up this way with check. So I might be able to wiggle out of this one, guys. This is what happens when you don't know an opening very well and your opponent does, right? So I don't know the Slav very well. My opponent started the Slav, which means they know it better than I do. So that is something to consider. I think I want to castle kingside still. Even though I don't have a g-pawn anymore, my bishop will do work as a g-pawn. My opponent could offer a trade. Yeah, I think I'm just going to come here. Now, my bishop is undefended, but that comes with check. My Opponent's going to have to move the king. Boy, I would really like to get there. All right, so let us now defend our pawn structure. So we're back to even. Our queen is a little exposed, so I got to be careful there. My opponent is unable to castle. Right now, I can castle, but I'm a little nervous about it. I think maybe if I'd bring my queen back here, I put some protection on this pawn. It's a dark square pawn, so it shouldn't be that much of an issue. Undefended knight. It's on a dark square, okay. Yeah, let's try it. Pinning this knight, also attacking this rook. Not my favorite. I probably should have come here, attack all three of these. Oh well. I'm trying not to allow myself to drop any more material. I don't really have a good way to get my queen home unless I come back this way and around, possibly an option. Is that just a rook drop? Let's make sure there's nothing we missed. Comes with check. Oh, and a resign. Okay. I think that might even be a form of checkmate. No, it's not checkmate because blocks, takes with check, and then they can start to escape. And the best I can do is maybe pick up a passed pawn. Oh, I could pick up a rook. Yeah. So it moves to white's favor pretty quickly. All right, let's go take a look at this game real quick, guys. This was an interesting one. So we start off with the Queen's Gambit. My opponent goes for the Slav Defense. Slav Defense. We're starting to learn the Slav Defense. We don't know it very well, but we're starting to learn it. And Slav Defense says knight c3. Oh, I went knight f3 first. I went knight f3. My opponent followed with this bishop. And one of the notes I have about the Slav is hold off on the bishop to b5, meaning bishop to b5 from the black's perspective. Hold off on this because the queen can infiltrate. And if you look at the engine line, the engine says, yeah, one of the lines is queen to b3. So I decided to continue with knight to c3. Slav Defense modern line. And yeah, now we can have the queen to b3 infiltrate. Huh, okay. Drive the bishop back, I guess. And then my opponent really defended this very nicely. One option that I've seen is offer an early queen trade, but defending it seemed to work really nicely. All right, let's get rid of the opening explorer. Okay. So yeah, so bringing my knight up, I hadn't considered that, honestly, bringing my knight into the position a lot earlier. Yeah, the only thing I was considering, honestly, was I wanted to get my bishop along this diagonal. Remove the defender, like wherever this queen goes. Well, not wherever. I mean, obviously it could sit here or here. But if I could remove the defender of the b7 pawn, then I've got some infiltration. Opponent, again, saw this coming, defended it extremely well. Ah, yeah. I did not catch that c5 early enough. I was considering it, but not nearly that. It would basically force my opponent to either retreat and give me the diagonal. Yeah, that knight jump up was a little too late because I gave up a pawn there. But I get my pawn back here. So if we count the pawns, am I down 2 pawns? No, that's an even trade. No, I am down a pawn there. So I should be down 2 pawns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to my opponent's 8. So yeah, I'm technically down 2 pawns here. So I have to get 1 back. Get 2 back. So now we're even in pawns. Let's see what the engine says. Yeah, engine says white has a slight advantage. It's not one way or the other yet. Ooh, the engine hated that, didn't it? The engine really hated that. Ah, of course. Of course. Check and pick up the rook. Yep. That comes with check, so my opponent doesn't have time to answer. Wow. I missed that. So I got my rook basically to defend my knight, but that gave my opponent just enough time to defend this check. So that could have come with check, and I could have had a free rook out of it. But lo and behold, I get a free rook out of it anyway. My opponent drops a rook, and that's pretty much all she wrote. Because, yeah, there's no real... We saw what happens. There's no real escaping this. So, right here, black resigned. So, alrighty, everybody, that was an interesting game. So the Slav, the one of the things to look about the Slav is the reason that black plays the Slav defense is because they want to get their bishop out and take advantage of these really long diagonals. In the standard Queen's Gambit Declined, you block in your light square bishop and you have to try to work it out different ways. What the Slav does is it opens up the light square bishop and it makes the light square bishop a tool. But you have to wait for it. You can't go yet. In this case, the proper move course would be, so now that white has basically blocked their queen in, so white cannot infiltrate down this like a Queen's Gambit accepted could. From here, taking the pawn is a better choice. Because now, when you go to block it in, right, I go to blockade that pawn from moving forward, this b5 move becomes pretty aggressive. From here, let's say that white follows whatever next move is. Pushing downward means that this knight becomes a little ugly. You force the knight to the edge of the board where it can become a target. An undefended knight is now a target, right? Even if we back up, and let's say that white makes a different move order. Let's say white goes to undermine the pawn structure like it would in the Queen's Gambit accepted. Now notice, the queen cannot infiltrate because his own knight is in the way. In this case, black is going to ignore the a pawn and still push down and still attack. And now white doesn't have access to the forward a4. It has the backward a2, where that knight is kind of dead for the majority of the rest of the game. So this is what the Slav, one of the lines of the Slav is looking for. So because of that, I know that getting your bishop out is a little too early. You don't want to do that just yet because of this queen infiltration. So that's what the note I wrote. In this case, I should have... No, I'm still waiting for my opponent to capture. And then, yeah, so in a Slav, the queen is now infiltrating. Now, it's not the world's greatest infiltration, as we saw. Like, your black has very many ways to defend against that. Even, I think, moving the knight right away. Yes, you give up this pawn, but you start to look at ways to force a queen trade early. And then, you know, black is sufficiently developed, has not messed up its queen side, can start to continue to develop, so you can keep moving a game from there. But getting the bishop out too early you are undefending this pawn, so you need to defend your b pawn. Black needs to defend its b pawn one way or another. And then from here, we developed into a game that I'm not familiar with, so we just played as best as we could. And it turned into a fun game. So, all right, that was a short one. A quick little 15-minute video on a variation of the Slav. A variation of the Slav's modern line, to be specific. And yeah, bishop b4. Ah, no, I don't see it. Oh, right, because if your opponent takes, you take here, and you've now trapped the rook. So the best your opponent can hope for is trapping the rook. Right, so I saw the bishop to f4 move, but I also saw that it was undefended. So I wanted to get it defended so that I could infiltrate without losing material, but I forgot that infiltrating gives up a rook potentially. So, yep, I kept trying to defend this bishop to f4, and I didn't need to worry about it. I needed to just proceed forward and trap that rook. Oh well. Alrighty, guys, fun game. The Slav is an interesting opening, and I hope to see more of them. See you guys later. Bye.